Your life will rise or fall by the things you choose to chase and the things you choose to resist. The question is simple: are you the master of your desires or their servant? Every day, a silent battle takes place inside you, a battle between what feels good in the moment and what builds your future. Most people lose this battle long before they even know it's happening. But you're here because you want more focus, more discipline, more control, more life. Stay for this message, not because it will sound good, but because it will shift the way you see your choices. By the end of this speech, you'll understand one truth that successful people guard with their lives. Your future is shaped not by your goals, but by the temptations you refuse to let steal them. Discipline shapes destiny because every decision we make is a seed planted in the soil of our future. People often imagine success as a single event, a grand breakthrough, or a moment of applause, but the truth is much quieter and far more uncomfortable. It is built in the ordinary moments where no one is watching. Those small choices, often invisible to the world, shape outcomes more powerfully than talent, luck, or opportunity. Desire on its own is never the problem. Desire is energy. Desire is fuel. Desire gives us the spark to dream and the hunger to pursue something greater. But without direction, desire behaves like fire without boundaries. It burns through time, focus, and potential, leaving behind the ashes of what could have been. Discipline is what gives desire structure. It is the decision to choose the harder right over the easier wrong, not once, but repeatedly, until that choice becomes part of your identity. Most people underestimate how much of their future is determined by the impulses they surrender to. They lose hours to distractions, days to excuses, and years to unexamined habits. It's not that they lack intelligence or ambition. It's that they haven't learned to guide their desires towards something meaningful. Discipline is the internal compass that corrects your path when emotions try to detour you. It's what keeps you moving when motivation fades, because motivation is unreliable by nature. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it isn't. Discipline is the contract you make with yourself, the agreement that your future matters more than your mood. In a world designed to pull your attention in every direction, discipline is rebellion. It's the refusal to be owned by distractions that promise pleasure but deliver regret. Every time you choose discipline, you are building a quiet kind of power inside yourself. A power that doesn't shout, doesn't boast, and doesn't need validation. It expresses itself in consistency, and consistency compounds into transformation. Most people wait for the perfect moment to begin, when they feel ready, when circumstances improve, when they find the right time. But discipline doesn't wait for conditions. It creates them. It understands that habits form before confidence, routine builds before results, and progress starts long before anyone notices. When desires run wild without structure, a person becomes reactive rather than intentional. They jump from one impulse to another, pulled by temporary feelings rather than long-term vision. They lose momentum without realizing it because distractions feel harmless in the moment. But each small surrender weakens self-trust, and once self-trust erodes, confidence follows. Discipline restores that trust. It gives you proof, day after day, that you are capable of choosing your higher self over your lower impulses. It creates a sense of internal alignment where your actions match your ambitions. Desire without direction creates chaos. Discipline turns that desire into progress. It takes the energy of wanting something and channels it into steps that move you forward, even when those steps are small. And small steps, repeated consistently, have a strange way of creating results that look like leaps. People often imagine discipline as restriction, as something that limits joy or freedom. But the opposite is true. Discipline is what frees you from the prison of your own impulses. It liberates you from the cycle of starting and quitting, wanting and wasting, dreaming and delaying. It gives you control over your life rather than letting life control you. When discipline becomes a habit, clarity follows. You begin to see which desires serve your future and which only distract from it. You start recognizing the difference between what is urgent and what is important. You stop chasing everything that moves and start committing to what matters. And commitment creates momentum, because the moment you remove the weight of inconsistency, your energy becomes focused instead of scattered. With discipline, even ordinary actions accumulate into extraordinary outcomes. Without it, even the greatest dreams fade into fantasies. Destiny is not something delivered, it is something developed through the choices you repeat. The people who rise are not the ones who feel inspired every day, but the ones who act even when they don't. They understand that discipline is the doorway to mastery, and mastery is the pathway to a meaningful life. Over time, discipline reshapes your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who follows through. You stop surviving your days and begin directing them. You start recognizing that every moment offers you the chance to strengthen your future or weaken it. And each time you choose discipline, you are quietly reinforcing the belief that you are in control of your destiny, not the other way around. When you learn to control what distracts you, you unlock the power to shape who you become. Most people assume their limitations come from a lack of opportunity, talent, or resources, but far more often the real limitation is the inability to direct attention toward what truly matters. Distraction is subtle, it doesn't ask for permission. It creeps into your day disguised as entertainment, urgency, or routine. It steals minutes disguised as harmless choices, and those minutes quietly accumulate into hours that could have been invested in growth, creation, or discipline. When the mind is scattered, even the most powerful dreams lose momentum. Focus is not simply the ability to concentrate, it's the ability to choose what to ignore. The moment you learn to dismiss what does not move you forward, your future begins to expand. Every distraction you eliminate frees up a part of your potential that was previously chained to something unimportant. And once that potential is redirected, your efforts begin to multiply rather than dissolve. The greatest breakthroughs in life rarely happen because someone suddenly discovers a new skill. They happen because a person finally removes the distractions that were blocking the skills they already had. The mind becomes sharper, decisions become clearer, and actions become more aligned when the noise of unnecessary attention is quieted. The problem is not that people lack goals. The problem is that they allow everything around them to have equal access to their focus. With every notification, every needless task, every impulse, the mind becomes divided, and a divided mind cannot produce united results. Control over your distractions begins with awareness. Most people drift through their days without realizing how often their attention is pulled away. They underestimate the cost of interruptions and overestimate their ability to recover from them. But every time you switch focus, you pay a cognitive price, and that price is productivity, clarity, and momentum. The one who learns to guard their attention gains an advantage that is rare in a world full of noise. When you remove distractions, you begin to recognize the incredible power of a single uninterrupted hour. You notice how much more thoughtful your decisions become, how tasks that once felt overwhelming now feel manageable, and how progress you once thought required weeks can begin in a single focused session. Focus transforms the ordinary into the essential. It gathers your energy into a straight line rather than letting it scatter in circles. It gives weight to your actions and direction to your desires. And when your energy moves in one direction instead of 20, results no longer feel distant. They become inevitable. You begin to feel a shift in the way you operate. Instead of reacting to life, you start directing it. Instead of waking up to chaos, you wake up with intention. You begin to choose what you allow into your mind, what you allow into your time, and what you allow into your emotional space. And those choices create a life that is built instead of borrowed. The truth is, the world will always offer distractions. It will always tempt you with ease, instant gratification, and noise that feels urgent but isn't meaningful. That will never change. What changes is your relationship to those distractions. When you train yourself to recognize that distractions are not harmless but expensive, you start treating your attention as a valuable resource instead of an open gate. Your priorities begin to shift. You start valuing depth over speed, progress over stimulation, alignment over entertainment. And as your values shift, so does your identity. You become someone who follows through, someone who honors commitments, someone who doesn't let impulse dictate direction, someone whose inner world is stronger than the outer world's pull. Controlling distractions is not about isolation. It's about elevation. It's about deciding that your growth deserves more of your attention than your impulses do. It's about refusing to dilute your focus with things that will not matter in a month, a year, or a lifetime. When you hold your attention with discipline, you unlock creativity that only appears in stillness. You access ideas that require space to form, insights that need silence to emerge, and confidence that grows from consistency. You begin to feel a sense of inner grounding, the kind that builds when your mind is not constantly being pulled apart. And that grounding becomes the foundation on which larger goals can be built. You stop feeling overwhelmed because your attention is no longer scattered. You stop feeling behind because your energy is no longer split. You stop doubting yourself because your actions begin to match your intentions. Focus is not simply a tool, it is a transformation of the self. It trains you to think long-term, act deliberately, and choose with clarity. It strengthens your character because every moment you resist distraction is a moment you strengthen discipline. And as your discipline grows, so does your identity, your confidence, your sense of direction. With focus, small efforts begin to accumulate. With focus, progress becomes visible. With focus, your days begin to align with your dreams. And once your days align, your life follows.